Hello and welcome back to the Derailment Chronicles, where no train of thought ever stays on track. And if nobody's told you today, I'm glad that you're here with me in this moment. Well, it's another month down in the year and it has been eventful here in Australia because the Australian federal budget got handed down and it has had very mixed reviews. But basically, what most people were saying is it's aimed at young people to try and help them get into the property market, but they're just trying to level the playing field with everybody, but I don't see it working out, but who knows. It's a very interesting budget. The Treasurer said he wasn't going to touch CGT and wasn't going to touch negative gearing, and it came out that he did. But I think it's just typical Labor government stuff. You spend a lot of money and now you got to somehow keep the country going, you know? So that's been happening, which was kind of, a big point in May. But other than that, not too much has been happening. Since the cardiologist, gave me the all clear that it's not my heart, I've been back running again. And I ran 6.5Ks the other day and I managed to get a PB on my 5Ks. Mind you, 6.5Ks is the furthest I've ever run in my life. Today I had to do a 7K one and I got to 6.8 and I was just absolutely dead. Because here's the thing, you're oh, it's only an extra 200 meters. 100 meters is a fair way, to be honest with you. It's honestly further than I thought. I thought things, I just had no clue of distance before I started doing the running, because you're physically there running that far rather than in a car, and you're just it takes a lot longer to do a K, 2Ks kind of thing than I thought it would. And then you add in 200 meters and it's just you've ran, and then you think you've ran 200 meters and it'll be oh no, you've only ran 100 meters at best. And it's just what do you mean? That felt like half a kilometer. I was hoping it was half a kilometer and not 200 meters. Oh. Anyway, so on the 6.5K run, which was the week before, I did get a PB for my 5K from 43 minutes down to 40 minutes, which I was impressed by, because we are on week 3 out of 11 of the plan, and my goal is to get my 5K time down to about 35 minutes. Somewhere with a 30 in the round, get a bit more average timing, and I was quite impressed that I was able to knock 3 minutes off the time in 3 weeks. So it is looking positive about that. Still been doing the Weight Watchers, still been losing weight, feeling good. Still get the occasional dizzy spell or headache that just won't go away. I did have some shakes the other day, but had some jelly beans and that sorted itself out. I did take me sugars when I had the shakes, and they're all 5.3, so that's a normal range. That was better than I'd ever had, so that was pretty good, to be honest. So yeah, I've been feeling good, been exercising, been doing strength. I'll tell you what, with the strength though, because I do the strength through the same running app, because it's oh, you can add this in as well. And I was yeah, I'll add it in, and then it's you can either do all round strength, or you can do just ones for runners. So I chose all round strength, and let me tell you, okay, it has humbled me, and I picked beginner level. So it gets you have to get into a lunge position, and then on your front foot you lift up your calf. I was shaking after, you got to hold that for 30 seconds. I was absolutely shaken 15 seconds in. I've also noticed that with my, I've also had to do planks and stuff. Side planks are hard as. it's hard as for me to get my balance to do a side plank, like so I'm not like slipping on the floor, because by the time they get me to do the side plank, I've like sweated so much that I'm just slippery, and like I tried to do it on a yoga mat, but the yoga mat's slippery than like the bloody tiles, so I was like, oh fuck. So like I do have to like stabilize myself a bit to actually like do it, and then it's just hard as like 20 seconds feels like a lifetime doing a plank, but regular planks I'm getting a bit better at. I can hold them for about 30 seconds and I only start shaking about 15 seconds in. When I did first start doing them again, I was shaking from about 5 seconds in, so I've got an extra 10 seconds of no shaky, so I feel like it's doing something. Or at least I'm going to tell myself it's doing something, because that is beneficial for it. So yeah, that's what's really been going on. Somehow I'm nearly like a platinum level member on the running app, because each time you run you get like 100 points, so then the further up you go you get more discounts. So I'm currently a gold member, because I had completed my like new to 5k plan before, so then I had like 1,000 something points from that, so I already like started off at gold level. So yeah, that's all been happening. We've been working on the fitness. Work's been nice. It's been chill. Starting to ramp up a little bit, but still not busy yet. So we're quite enjoying that at this moment, and we will take that. And we are not complaining about that. Okay, this is we are finally a bit calm at work. So yeah, that's what's been happening. But also this month, oh my god, Eurovision's been happening too. When I'm filming it, we haven't seen like the grand finale yet, so we'll see. Delta's song's pretty good for Australia though, so it's like the strongest contender we've had since WM. So hoping we get up there, like hoping we get up somewhere higher. It'd be nice if we got into the top 10 again, but we'll see. We will see. We're through to the grand final, which is further than we got last year, so we're already doing better. And then they brought back the Milkshake Man because they had like this song thing about people mucking up Austria and Australia. And he wore the same outfit. I'm like, yeah, okay, reduce, reuse, recycle. But also, like, why would you invite him back? Why can't you just do it with Delta or somebody? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, why the hell did he need to be there? Made no sense. Boy George is also at Eurovision as well for San Marino, and the chick that's performing for San Marino, she had Flow Rider on, I think it was either last year or the year before. She's done Eurovision so many times. I'm like, San Marino, do you just not have other artists to put up? Like, she's a vibe, she's a diva, and I love that she's like getting these other artists in with her, but you guys just haven't been performing. It's like, well, with the ratings and stuff. Like, I feel like in the song Boy George sang like 3 lines, and it was just like, yeah, featuring Boy George. It's like, bitch, let him do some of the carrying. You know what I'm saying? Let him carry some of the song. Okay, you've been working hard, you're doing all your dances, you're hitting all your marks, you're hitting all your notes, and he's just coming up out of this egg and he's just standing there singing. Like, make it make sense. You're doing too much, girlie. Doing too much. But she is an absolute diva. Do enjoy seeing her there, but maybe somebody else needs to come in. She might be getting a bit tired of it, you know? Share the love. Anyway, I have fallen down a rabbit hole this month, and hence like the topic of today's video. So I clicked on one video that was like a TikTok compilation on YouTube of scary stories, or like people that have lived in the Appalachian Mountains, their experiences with what they've seen, what they've experienced, paranormal, paranormal, or what else you got, supernatural, all that. Well, they all fall under the same realm, but weird things that have occurred, you know, because there's all the mystery around the Appalachian Mountains, because they're some of the oldest mountain ranges in the world, and it spreads across so many different states in the US. It's massive. Hikers go missing, etc., etc. Like, a lot's happening. There are just sort of like, once you watch one video, then your whole feed, okay, your whole feed is more people, and like a lot of them are repeats, and you're just like, okay, I can skip that. But some of them, you find a little hidden gem. You find a little hidden gem, and I think it's just so interesting what people say, and then the comments about what people think it is or could possibly be. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, one of them was saying, oh, it might have been a Wendigo. And I was like, what is a Wendigo? Because Skinwalkers, yeah, I've heard of. A Wendigo? No. What is a Wendigo? And we're going to get into that today. We're going to break it down today. We're going to get into the juicy gloss of what it even is. And I was like, oh, okay. And then once you get through the Appalachian Mountains compilations, then it has like other, like, top 5 scary camping videos, or top 10 things caught on camera, and like urban, what do they call it? Like urban exploring, when they go into the abandoned buildings, you know, top 10 of those going wrong, and it was just, you just get the same kind of videos, and I was just like, this is bad. But yeah, the algorithm is feeding me what I want to watch at this point. Like, it is doing its job, but also, like, probably didn't need to go this far down the rabbit hole. So anyway, I've chosen a couple of things to talk about today. That being Skinwalkers, what even is a Wendigo, and then we're going to get into some folklore, because when people have been camping out in the desert, they see this, like, entity with a light for a face, okay, and there's a lot of scientific explanations of what it could be, but we're going to dive into what the supernatural folklore is. We are going to talk about what the scientific possibilities of that could be, but, like, you watch it on some videos, and it doesn't look AI generated. That's the thing. And it's just there, and it's like a light, and it's like, I was like, oh, that's nice, like a guiding light for people in the desert. No. They're trying to lure you to your death. Okay, they are trying to lure you to your death. Like, the whole opposite point of a lighthouse is what this thing is. It's there to lure you, get your soul. Like, evil. So they are called Abu Fanous, and we're going to get into that, okay? So strap on in, grab a little drinky, a little Betty, sit back and relax. You know, let's get into what the lore is saying about all these different types of things. So, I thought it'd be good if we start off with Skinwalkers, okay? And if you are on the paranormal side of YouTube, I'm talking like Twin Paranormal, the paranormal, what's his name? Colin Brown's in it. I think it's just called the Paranormal Files. It's with Colin and his brother-in-law, I believe now, and he does like 2-3 hour long documentaries on his like investigation. So if you're into longer ones, yeah, you can do that. A lot of places have, a lot of paranormal channels, have said, you know, this is like what a skinwalker is, and so they are. There has been a lot of chatter with it, but let's get it. If you aren't familiar, we're going to get into it anyway, but just so you know, there's a lot of videos about them. So, skinwalkers actually originated from the Navajo culture, and they're often described as shapeshifters or trickster entities. And the term skinwalker kind of stayed within that community, or there was like whispers outside of that community. that occurred in 1996 because of the events around the Skinwalker Ranch. And that is brought to us by the Sherman family, who kind of put this out into the spotlight with all these different strange happenings occurring. And today it is like a paranormal research facility that's privately owned, but it has been handed off a couple of times. So it really originates in Navajo law, so that's what we're going to start digging into, and then we'll get onto the Skinwalker Ranch. So, the term Skinwalker is believed to actually come from the Navajo phrase Yi Nidoshi. But it can also sound like Anagloshi, okay? But it doesn't it's not spelled like how it sounds. And basically, it just translates to, with it, he goes on all fours. So, now, before we go any further, it's important to mention that, this is considered an extremely important, culturally sensitive topic within Navajo traditions. And so, many people avoid discussing skinwalkers altogether because, if you speak evil into the world, the evil is going to come into the world. You know what I'm saying? It's a form of protection for the people. So it is a sensitive topic, and I feel like we don't actually know a lot about skinwalkers, just because they have kept that information protected, probably for everybody's sakes, because otherwise, who knows what could be happening. So, basically, according to their folklore, skinwalkers were once believed to be medicine men. And medicine men were top level people within the tribe, right? They were highly regarded. They knew how to help people. They were an important part of ceremonies. Okay, like an upstanding citizen. And here's the thing, they were an upstanding citizen, but then they started to abuse their sacred indigenous spiritual practices for evil purposes. In these stories of the medicine men, they gain these supernatural abilities, most commonly referenced to being able to transform or imitate or possess animals, even people. Usually from the YouTube video I did watch from Shanklin Shadow Productions. He's got good stories if you're interested in sort of Native American lore and sort of the different things going around there, or more about their culture, basically. He's got really good videos about it over there. But basically, he was saying that when medicine men highly regarded, so tribes lived far apart, right? But tribes needed medicine people, and if unfortunately a medicine person in another person's tribe had passed away, the medicine man would have to get somewhere quickly, right, to help save the people, help do whatever procedures they needed to do. So you couldn't do that as a human being on a horseback, right? So they decided, the medicine man, to sort of sell their souls to the evil spirit, to give in to the evil spirit. And the evil spirit was like, well, you can transform into not like a cheetah, but like a wolf or whatever, and it will quicken your time to get in between the tribes. But then what they didn't realize is when they sold their soul, that how evil it was going to get, and then how selfish they would become, and then they really lost that medicine man persona. Doctors and nurses, they want to help people. Helping people is what's at the core of who they are, and they like to do it, right? These medicine men, when they allowed the evil in, that all went away, and it was all greedy, and it was all about them. So other traditions have, other versions of the law have suggested that men, women, or even children could become a skinwalker after committing deeply taboo acts. But the corrupted medicine man story is one that I've seen across more videos. Not saying that committing a deeply taboo act wouldn't turn people into a skinwalker. I'm just telling you the one that I've seen more commonly around. And in many of these stories, skinwalkers, they're described as physically animalistic. Even when they appear as human, they often, you look at them and there's something off about them. Something unnatural looking about them. They might have distorted figures, glowing eyes, or movements that just don't necessarily seem right. Like, the whole human part of them, their whole soul has gone. Okay, it is just a physical body at this point. Because the evil has taken over the soul that you once knew. And then another common belief from the lore is that they are extremely difficult to kill, with some legends like claiming only bullets or blades in white ash can kill them, or just like harm them. And then, like, here's the thing, it's just, the thing that's interesting about it is that the Navajo people don't want to talk about it. But I guess they just don't want to bring bad luck to them because they've grown up with this law. They've grown up hearing all the stories, hearing how bad it is, etc. And they just don't want to be subject to that, which is fair in a point. But also, it's also good to have knowledge about what could possibly be out there so you could better equip yourself. But I guess if you're not speaking it out there, then it's not likely to show up. Yeah, double-edged sword there. So yeah, but that was basically, the corrupted medical man transforms into animals, can whip themselves around really fast, get unbelievable speed, can get to where they want to go. But to do that, they had to sell their souls. So, that is the summarization of the Navajo lore. Now, let's get into the Skinwalker Ranch, which sort of made this more mainstream. Okay. 1996, Terry and Gwen Sherman moved into a Utah ranch, which is now officially called the Skinwalker Ranch. And they began experiencing a series of bizarre and disturbing events. And as with any sort of like paranormal story, they all start off as little things that you don't like really connect the dots. You're like, oh, that's weird. And then they start ramping up, okay? So the Shermans, they had claimed that they had witnessed UFOs hovering over the property, but they were all in different shapes and sizes. And at the same time as they were seeing these different UFOs, a lot of their cattle would disappear or they would be found dead under extremely strange circumstances. Not like, oh, we need to fix the fencing, like an animal's come in here and killed all these cows. Just weird, bizarre stuff. Like, one of the cows reportedly discovered had a hole cut into his left eyeball, and another allegedly had its rectum surgically removed. Like, not your typical, like, cow death from an animal. Like, surgically removed kind of stuff, okay? Medicine man kind of stuff. And when the animals were found, they had this strange chemical smell. Like, usually decomposing animals will have a very strong smell, but it won't be chemically. It'll be very natural because they're decomposing into the ground. And they wouldn't have a chemical smell. So it was all a bit strange. Like, in another case, a cow was discovered dead in a cluster of trees where the branches above it had appeared to be, like, clustered away. Like, they were trying to hide the dead cow under the branches. I mean, a cow's pretty hard to miss. Like, they're pretty big. Unless it's, like, a little calf. But, like, it's still pretty big. But one of the creepiest experiences, this is when it started ramping up, is when Terry Sherman was, like, outside late at night with his dogs, right? Because they're over here thinking it's some animal or something that's trying to kill these animals, like trying to kill the cows. So he's like, you know what, I'm gonna do a little night watch. I'm gonna get out here with the dogs. The dogs can chase it off. You know, he'll have his gun or whatever sitting there ready, right, to get rid of this animal who's hurting his livelihood, his and his family's livelihood. So Sherman claimed he heard voices speaking in a language he had never heard. He didn't recognize it, and it was only coming from like 25 feet away, right? Except nobody was there. His dogs then started barking frantically, and they started bolting it back towards the house. Because you know animals can see it, can sense it, right? Like, if you have gone down that TikTok paranormal video, scary experiences kind of realm, and that's on your algorithm, you would have seen people filming their dogs, and they'll be like stopped midway upstairs, looking at something, you can't see anything there. Next minute, the curtain is like flopping near you, but there's no windows open, no air going in or out of the house. Like, the dog's picking up on something. So anyway, the dog's running back to the house. And then Sherman also claimed to encounter like wolf-like creatures, but he described them as being 3 times the size of a human. And 3 times the size of a normal, 3 times the size of a normal wolf. Like, massive. Gigantic. And at the time, you know, he believed it was some kind of predator, but then he saw these wolves and he's just like, this isn't normal. Like, this isn't real. So then the Shermans were like, well, bloody hell, we're not dealing with this stuff. Packed up, moved out. But then the strange stories kept intensifying. Like, they didn't stop. It wasn't connected to the Shermans. It's connected to the land. So then, later in 1996, billionaire businessman and UFO enthusiast Robert Bigelow purchased the ranch for around $200K. Okay, they wanted a cheap sale. They were like, we're not living here. Like, take it off our hands. And he ended up establishing the National Institute for Discovery Science on the property, installed extensive surveillance cameras, equipment to capture what was happening there. He was just like, UFOs, I want to see them. I want them on camera. Okay, I want to prove to people that there are aliens out there, that the paranormal exists, yada, yada, yada. So then we fast forward to March 12, 1997, where biochemist Colm Keller reportedly witnessed a large humanoid figure perched in a tree. Not a humanoid, okay? Like those bloody 3 times the size of a normal wolf, right? And Keller, he had a gun. He shot at it, and it escaped. It came out unharmed. He didn't even hit it. Investigators then went and had a look because he reported it. He's like, look, there's this thing on the property, blah, blah, blah. Tried hitting it. It escaped. Like, we got to find it. That's, like, what even is that? And investigators went and they had a look and they found large claw marks and just unusual tracks nearby. So the thing's traceable. The thing is real. And later, Keller described the prints as resembling something like a massive bird of prey or raptor, but like far heavier than anything that is actually like native to the area. So the reports they also didn't stop there. Okay, over the years, Bigelow's team allegedly documented more than 100 paranormal incidences on the ranch. However, none of the evidence that was collected was scientifically conclusive, which is why we haven't really heard about it. So then in 2016, Bigelow sells the ranch to Adamantium Holdings for around $4.5 million. That is a benefit if you tell me you bought it for $200K and you're selling it for $4.5 million. Wowee. And basically, the people at Medium Holdings are having the same experiences. They've got descriptions of skinwalker sightings, which are often like eerily similar. They'll have four-legged creatures with like human features, but like eyes that glow red or orange. Like there's, something is off about them. And since taking over the property, they have installed more extensive monitoring equipment, including infrared camera, motion sensors, alarm systems. But the strangest reports have come from the people actually working there, and I was like, excellent, we've heard from the people working there. Because, like, if you imagine, like, cameras and stuff can do so much, but then you're also going to have, like, security guards there, because like people would be trying to trespass and it's technically like private property, like you would need people working there, like reviewing the evidence, watching the evidence, in case something happens on the property. You need security and all those things. So according to a report from Vice, some employees claim to experience unexplained nausea, skin irritation, headaches, and other symptoms after spending a bit of time in the property. Some even reportedly had to be rushed to the hospital, but there was like no clear medical reason why they were rushed to the hospital. Like that was the conclusion of their investigations. And basically, whether you believe it or not, the Skinwalker Ranch has become quite like one of the most famous paranormal hotspots today in like modern history. And there's actually a couple of like documentaries about it on YouTube, which are free to watch, which are pretty good, if you want to know more. But yeah, Skinwalker Ranch really blasted what a skinwalker is into the spotlight. So that is all on the Skinwalker front. And now we're going to get into what even is a Wendigo, because I honestly didn't know before I started doing some Google searches, doing some research for the pod. So, the Wendigo is a terrifying creature from Native American folklore, particularly among Algonquin-speaking tribes from Great Lakes region, Canada, and northeastern United States. So, unlike a lot of monsters in folklore, the Wendigo actually isn't meant to be scary, but it represents something a lot more deep. It represents the physical manifestation of insatiable greed, selfishness, and cannibalism. And it's essentially, basically, famine. It's the picture of famine during a really harsh winter. Is what it is meant to look like. There are a lot of different descriptions of a Wendigo, but basically the commonalities between them all is they are incredibly large. They are basically skin and bone. Their skin is only just covering their bones. Okay, they look emaciated. And they smell like death. And here's the thing, they are always hungry. They feed on people, but they are always hungry because of their insatiable greed. They want more. And the differences is sometimes they have antlers, sometimes they don't have antlers. But the rest pretty much remains the same. And basically the story goes that if in the winter, in the olden days, there was a lot of famine. If you didn't stock up during the other months of the year to have storage for food, then you were going to starve during the winter. And if you starve during the winter and you turn to cannibalism as your last resort, it was likely that you were then going to become a Wendigo. Or if you did something insanely greedy, you were going to become a Wendigo. It was a cautionary tale, but basically you don't want to become a Wendigo, so don't do these things. Be a community-minded person, think about others, and how your actions will affect others. So the earliest actually written account of a Wendigo appeared in 1661 in the Jesuit Relations and Allied documents, where missionaries describe Cree tribesmen who supposedly turned cannibal during an especially brutal winter. One report stated, those poor men were seized with an ailment unknown to us, which makes them so ravenous for human flesh. Okay, they are greedy. They just want human flesh. They had one taste, and now they want more, and they're destined to need it for the rest of their life. And according to the account, some were killed to stop what was described as their madness, because it wasn't known at that time as sort of this Wendigo psychological disease. And during this time, many tribes believed that resorting to cannibalism would turn you into a Wendigo. And in many Native American legends, the Wendigo is described as towering and skeletal, sometimes said to be over 15 feet tall, pale skin stretched tightly across its bones, bloody lips and chewed fingers, a heart encased in ice, and constantly starving no matter what it consumes. And basically that endless hunger is, of course, as we said before, is symbolic. The Wendigo can never satisfy itself, which is why it's become associated with greed, with excess. But interestingly enough, when I was researching this, there was a case about it. So, one of the most infamous real-life cases tied to the Wendigo lore is that of the story of Swift Runner. Swift Runner was a Cree trapper and hunter living in what is now Alberta, Canada, during the winter of 1878 to 1879. He took his wife and 6 kids, his mother and brother, into the wilderness for the winter trapping season to, get food to feed his family. Common at the time. There wasn't a supermarket you could go down to. But then spring arrived, and Swift Runner was the only person to return home, nobody else. And he had initially claimed that all his family had died in the brutal winter. But what actually happened is people went out, and authorities went out and investigated the camp where they had been staying and trapping, and they had found human bones scattered around the sites. Evidence that bodies had been butchered and cooked. Bones broken for marrow extraction, and a pot containing human fat. So then, they came back to Swift Runner with all this evidence, and Swift Runner was like, well, actually, yeah, I did eat all my family. Including his youngest son. Eating his own kids? Insane to me. But, eating a person in general is insane to me. But, unconditional love, and you chose to end their life to save yours. Selfish. Anyway, what made the case, though, even more disturbing was that investigators believe food and game had become available again by the time of the final killing. So he didn't actually really need to kill the last person. Starvation wasn't the motive anymore. He had just become greedy and probably had gotten a taste for human flesh. And Swift Runner, here's how it ties to the Wendigo thing. Swift Runner was like, I have been possessed by a Wendigo. Nobody believed that. Nobody knew. Nobody believed that. They were like, you're just nuts. You're actually a serial killer and a cannibal. And so he was later convicted and executed in 1879, becoming the first person legally executed in Alberta. Is that insane? You go out on a hunt for winter to get food for your family. You end up killing and eating all of your family, even though you didn't have to after some time because there was food available. Then you come back and you're just like, yeah, no, they all died of starvation. Police go out there we have all this evidence. Then he's like, I got possessed by a Wendigo. And they're like, that's right. Okay, no. As if that's right, Like, that's insane. And then he became the first, like, they thought he was that corrupt, the first person legally executed in Alberta. I mean, at this point he was a serial killer, so, like, checks out. But wow, a lot of firsts. And the case basically deeply terrified communities at the time because it seemed to sort of blur the line between folklore, spiritual belief, and actual, like, human violence. And that's really why the Wendigo legends sort of endured for centuries. And at its core, it's basically a cautionary tale warning against greed, selfishness, isolation, and abandoning morality in the pursuit of survival. Some historians and, like, psychologists even reference something called Wendigo psychosis, which is a controversial condition where people have supposedly developed an obsession or delusion involving cannibalism, and whether that was sort of more a genuine cultural bound syndrome or misunderstood mental illness is still kind of debated today, because nobody's really out here claiming, like, that they want to be a cannibal, you know. Yeah, it's just insane that, like you get to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to eat another human being. Like, I don't know, like, if it got to that point, I'd be like, there's not much left for us, you know, like maybe we just all, like, huddle and starve to death or something. Like, I just couldn't imagine eating another person. It's just insane. Yeah, and so, look, there are a couple of origin stories, and some indigenous stories claim that the Wendigo was once a warrior who made a deal with an evil spirit. Oh, because I forgot to mention one thing about the Wendigo. They have a lot of strength. They have strength and speed. They may be greedy, but they got a lot of strength and speed. They can outrun you, and they could bench more than you. So a warrior, so some say it was a warrior who made a deal with an evil spirit to gain immense strength and defeat his enemies, and he succeeded, but the cost of that was he had to transform into this hideous looking monstrosity of a creature. And then after, like, terrifying even the own people in his tribe, he was banished to live out in the wilderness, where he became cannibalistic and being feared as a legend. And honestly, it's a bit scary because, like, you take a look at the Skinwalkers and you're like, yeah, as if you could actually, like, transform into a creature. Like there's a bit of, like, questioning that. But a Wendigo, you're kind of just like, well, this is, like, really just because of human nature. Which is the scariest part. Sometimes humans are the scariest part about the story. So yeah, that's the Wendigo. That was really interesting. Gave us the first legal execution in Alberta in 1879. It's just interesting. Yeah. And then we get up to Abu Fanous, which is the light phenomenon. So I had honestly never heard of this one until it came across my YouTube algorithm as part of one of those TikTok compilations. And basically it originates in Arabic folklore, and Abu Fanous translates to Father of the Lantern, okay, which is why it sort of has the light as a face. It's a mysterious light phenomenon that's been reported across remote desert regions of the Arabian Peninsula, particularly in places like Rida, Najd, and the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. And travellers described seeing a faint glowing light in the distance at night or just before dawn. You know, sometimes you look at it and you're like, oh, it's just like an old lantern out there. Other times it sort of resembles vehicle headlights driving off into the distance. But here's where it gets unsettling. The light reportedly moves. People claim it drifts across the dunes, disappears when approached, and then suddenly reappears somewhere else entirely. almost like it's intentionally leading people away from safety. And in the middle of the desert, that's terrifying as, because like you look around and everything looks the same, and then you've got no light. It is the light, like it's just scary. It's trying to kill you. And in Bedouin folklore, Abu Fanous is actually connected to jinn, so this is supernatural beings being deeply rooted in the Islamic tradition. It's also sometimes referred to as Abu Saj, meaning father of the lamp, or Abu Nuwira. But according to legend, Abu Fanous is a mischievous, if I could talk today, is a mischievous or even malevolent entity that deliberately lures travelers into danger. Stories claim it leads people towards quicksand, endless dunes, or deeper into the empty quarter desert where you just become hopelessly lost and have less and less chance of being found. And honestly, when you think about how dangerous the desert already is, that just gets extra creepy. And the empty quarter, also known as Rabakali, is one of the largest sand deserts in the world. Endless dunes, brutal heat during the day, freezing temps at night, and like no landmarks. Like you look around, you don't know where you are because everywhere looks the same. And so if someone in the distance saw what looked like a campfire or a lantern, and they were lost, they'd be likely to follow it, right? And that's what makes this folklore so effective. So, like in Islamic belief, the jinn are supernatural beings that are said to be created by a smokeless fire. Depending on the story, they can be benevolent, neutral, or like deeply dangerous. But Abu Fanous is believed to be deeply dangerous. It represents deception and isolation and just basically the danger of being lured away from safety by something that appears helpful. You know, nothing is what it seems is the lesson here. There are some scientific explanations, as I mentioned at the start of this episode, for what could explain at least some of these sightings. So let's go through them. Number one, the major theory is that it is a desert mirage caused by atmospheric refraction. So basically the intense desert heat creates layers of air with different temperatures, which bends light in unusual ways. So distant stars, campfires, vehicle headlights can appear distorted or look like they are floating or moving across the landscape. So what looks like a glowing orb drifting through the dunes might just be the light refracting weirdly because of all the heat in the desert. Another theory comes from comparing Abu Fanous to Will o' the Wisp, a phenomenon found in folklore all around the world. Mysterious light sometimes linked to gases igniting naturally. I had never heard of gases igniting naturally until I did look at Abu Fanous. Basically, scientists point out that this explanation is less likely in hyper-arid deserts because there isn't much organic material to produce the gas to manipulate the light. Still, regardless of the scientific explanation, Abu Fanous remains one of the most fascinating examples of like how the environment shapes folklore. Because in a place like the desert that's so isolating and so dangerous, like for a simple light to become terrifying, to try to lure you to your death is just something I would never have thought I would have had to like consider as something not to follow. But also just don't go out into the desert, you know, unless you got a tour guide and it's the whole thing. Just don't go out into the desert by yourself. That could be the best tip to keep you safe. So yeah, that's all the, you know, paranormal sort of happenings that I wanted to cover today. And as always, we have my reoccurring segment, which is what have I been obsessed with this month. Obviously the Appalachian Mountains and all of this, but oh my god, some little tea. You know what else I've been obsessed with? Well, I haven't been obsessed with. in the sense, like, I love it, obsession. It is James Charles has been making headlines again. And you know how we feel about James Charles here. If you have been an avid listener and listened to my whole James Charles video, we don't like him. We feel like he's entitled and he's surrounded by yes people, and that has meant he hasn't developed emotionally. And hasn't got that emotional intelligence. And then, of course, all the allegations with minors and all these minors coming out because he was talking to them in like Snapchat and Instagram DMs. Anyway, there's a lot not to like. Anyway, unfortunately, 17,000 people lost their job at Spirit Airlines when it went into administration. I think this week or last week. It's been happening for 2 weeks, sort of thing. Right, so 17,000 people lost this job. And as a last-ditch effort, this woman was sending a GoFundMe link for $1,600 to influencers. And one of them happened to be James Charles. She, according to James Charles, didn't watch his videos, hadn't like supported him before. This was a totally random thing. Now, yes, it may seem weird, but you're an influencer, you have money, you like to flaunt the money you have, and when people are in desperate times, like they need to pay their rent, they want to put food on their tables, sometimes they do desperate measures, such as reaching out. So, James could have ignored this, okay, which is the whole bloody point. James could have ignored this, kept going about his day. Because as many people have brought up, when you have like a business influencer Instagram account, you have a couple of different categories of DMs. You have DMs from people who follow you. You have DM requests, which is where this lady's GoFundMe would have been. And that's for people who don't follow you or haven't interacted with you before. Which means you'd have to go in and really be looking for something. And a lot of people are thinking that he might be up to his old ways with the minors. And then you also have your direct DMs for people you've messaged, etc. So basically, in his outstanding request, he came across this girl, Spirit Airlines, GoFundMe link. And he decided, instead of ignoring it, okay, because he didn't have to give her money. That's not the point everybody's getting mad at. It was just that he didn't have to respond. Or if he needed to express himself in the way he did, he could have recorded it, deleted it, not posted it to the internet. And basically, he gets in this, TikTok video. And he's just basically like, how dare you send me this this GoFundMe link. In the time it took you to send this, you could apply for 200 jobs. You're just lazy. You're just entitled. Why do you think I need to fund your lifestyle? Get out there and get a job and work like everybody else. Kind of thing. And it kept going on and on. He's like, you've never followed me. You've never interacted with me. You haven't shown me any support. So why do you think I should show you some support? Completely and utterly entitled. So entitled that Jackie Ina, who's usually just like around, doesn't involve herself in anything, spoke out about it. Because he was just acting so entitled. For somebody whose viewers pay his bills and who has never had to work an actual job in his life. Like he was just going off. It's like, well, James, why don't you try applying? So many people were in the comments and they're like, I've applied to 200 jobs in the past, 6 months and been rejected from all of them. Like, the job market sucks at the moment. She wasn't asking for the full 1,600 from you. She was just asking if you would consider, doing the GoFundMe. And, it's fine. He didn't have to pay any money. I don't think she was expecting anything from him, but she was like, well, you don't know until you try. I think it's now, somebody found it and sent out her GoFundMe link, and so she now has that. I think she has more than what she was asking for to help with the bills and stuff because of how poorly James Charles reacted. But, like, yeah, influencers like that would be getting messages like that all the time for things, but it's just like, you could just ignore it. It was the fact that you got in a video, you posted it. Then posted 2 apology videos which you have taken down because you didn't have the foresight to just not respond for a bit because you were so worried about your numbers going down because people are really seeing who you truly are, which is not a good person, and stop watching you, so now your views are going down because you might actually have to get an actual job. If nobody's watching you, James, what are you going to do for money? Did you invest wisely? What are you going to do? And also gets in a video or TikTok or something and goes, yeah, my dad's really proud of me. Oh, ew. Like, ew, brother, ew. To be proud of him is not something I would say, but I guess parents have bias, but, like, your son's been alleged of sexually texting minors and also just has no respect for people working and trying to help this economy, out of touch with reality, and you're proud of that? Interesting. Really interesting. Like, at some point you actually have to parent and be like, that's not okay behaviour. But it'd be interesting if the parents were co-signing off on this behaviour. That is something we would like to know. What else have I been obsessed with this month? Oh, there's this, like, Japanese lychee drink, and it's in the can's mainly white, and I think the brand's Vita, but it's got, like, it's a circle with Vita in it, and Vita's written in white, but the circle's in black. And they've been selling it at Coles. And there was also, I tried a vitamin C one at a Quick Stop. Absolutely and utterly beautiful. Love it. It is so good. I love it so much. And it's like a little something different. But also, you know how I'm obsessed with the Schweppes lemon lime, blood orange mango, and the passion fruit and pineapple ones? Well, they're never going to be $9 again, but now this week they were down to $10, so I could pick up a couple of packs at a time because that lasts me for like maybe like until they're on sale again, usually like 2 weeks. Actually, no, more than 2 weeks. It's been 3 weeks, I guess, since the last one. But yeah, I've gone back to the blood orange and lemon lime. Like, it just tastes so good. I just love it so much. Sad that they're not $9, but $10 is still okay. I mean, that turns out to be $1 a can now, actually. And to be honest, I think it is worth $1 a can. But, like, in this cost of living crisis, like, everything's just more expensive now. Like, when's the point? When's it going to crash? Like, something's going to be unstable. Something's going to be rocky. Something's going to be happening that we're going to have to look out for. Also this month, I've been obsessed with Gigi Perez and her At the Beach album. Love it. Been having it on repeat. And, yeah, I haven't really been watching any TV shows. I've been finding, like, there's nothing really good now on Netflix. Just, you know, you kind of like look at it and you're like, I don't want to watch that. Oh, I did watch Assassination Classroom and Spy X Family Season 3. They were pretty good. Didn't realise Assassination Classroom had 2 seasons because only 1 season is on Netflix. So when I had been Googling on the TikToks, like, what happens, etc., I was, like, trying to get prepared for the last episode, like, mentally, and then what I thought was going to happen in the last episode didn't happen, and then it was just like, well, kids, semester 2's up next, and I was just like, Oh, and there's a season 2. I like mentally put off watching this because I just thought I might be bawling my eyes out at the end because Loki had become attached to Koro Sensei. And it didn't even happen. And so I was like, well, that's kind of that. But I have to work out where I can watch season 2 and watch that. And then apparently I got a movie. And then I think they're coming out with a new movie or something. So there's been a bit of a revival going there. Spy X Family's going strong. I did enjoy season 3. I didn't mind the school episodes. And I also didn't mind getting like Lloyd's background, how he ended up where he ended up. That was quite interesting and kind of made you understand where Lloyd's coming from more. So I did like that a bit more. So yeah, that's all I've been obsessed with that month. Sorry, I really couldn't speak today. Hey? That is what I have been obsessed with for this month. And look, and just like that, it's the end of today's episode. And if you like listening to our episodes, you can give us a follow on Instagram. And you can also listen to more episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you want to yell with me into the void in between episodes, you can send us a fan mail, question, email, etc., which you just click the link in the bottom of the description. Or you can send me a DM on the Instagrams. Just remember, kiddos, stay chaotic out there.